Buy on MTG. Construct your deck. Command your board. Conquer the table.
Hello out there in the wide world of web. This is Rob with Bion MTG. So I talked to a couple of friends of mine after I did a deck tech, and they were kind of curious what my steps and procedures that I went through with. And I was trying to explain it to them, and they said that sounded like a reasonable thing to make a deck tech or how to build a deck idea for a video. So here we are. That being said, we're going to start out. I was talking with my group and we were all discussing, wouldn't it be neat if we all did like a pod of just mono white decks? And I said, well, there's a couple ideas that I've had banging around, but if we're trying to make this thing happen relatively quick, I have the Angels Secret Layer. And they're like, okay, well, start with that. So what I did is I went into Architect, and you can search by the pre-constructed commander. So this is the Angels. They're like us, but cooler with wings. And then you can clone the deck. So you can go through and you can rename it whatever you want, and then it brings it into your stuff. So I started with this, and I went through and kind of read through each one of the cards. And as things jumped out at me that I wasn't super blown away with, I'll drag them into a column and just call it remove. And then I kind of have a general idea of about what I'm looking for card-wise to fill. First thing that I do is I open Scryfall, and you can go under Advanced Search. Under here, I know the commander is white. Format, I want to make sure that they're legal to use cards, and they will be in Commander. And then you start messing with the Oracle text. Now, within Oracle, there's a bunch of different things you can do. Like in the type, I can put Angels, and then I can just search Angels. And I did that, and it brings up, 60, the 1 through 60 of 185. So then I will go through all of the Angels because I'm trying to make this into a Kindred list. And that being said, I'm not going to exclusively use Angels. I mean, you do need some sort of support elements to it, but this is the first step that I do, and I try and make sure that I have all the cool Angels that I would like to have incorporated within this list. Then I go through Scryfall again, but instead of Angels this time, I'll do Oracle. If I can type today, Oracle, and I'll do draw. So what I'm looking for, well, let me remove that space. So what I'm looking for is anything that has Oracle draw, that has the commander is white, and it's legal in commander. So this is anything that is playable in a white commander deck that draws a card. I think you've all heard enough from me. That's my favorite thing to do in the game, is to draw a card. So there are 460 cards that are available in mono white that draw you cards. So then I'll go through them and try and find things that jumped out at me that I felt were relatively on theme, like, oh goodness, here's an angel that draws you cards, Battle Angels of Tyr. So with that, I'll find something like Battle Angels of Tyr. I'll jump over to the Angels deck and I'll add it. I'll just add it right away, and then I'll keep going because I don't want to forget the things. Continue to go through until I find, go through all 160 if you want, or what was that, 460? Go through all the pages until I find a bunch of card draw, because I feel like card draw is just an amazing thing and I don't want to miss out on it. And then the last step that I will do within Scryfall is Oracle tag for ramp. So ramp can be established in a bunch of different ways. So a neat thing within Scryfall is they have Oracle tag. So the card obviously doesn't say the word ramp in it. Otherwise, you would just get every card that says trample, because ramp is within the word trample. So you would just get everything with trample in mono white. But what we're looking for is the Oracle tag of ramp. So you search that the exact same way, Oracle tag, : ramp. and still within the confines of Commander White and Commander Legal. And you can go through and find everything. Like in this regard, it says your colorless spells cost 2 less. That's essentially ramp. Making the spells cheaper allows you to do more things. So go through and try and find all the super cool cards that you want. That's funny. This is still at the very last page because I didn't bring it back to the front one after I went through. But find all the cards within your specific build requirements that really jump out at you. Like I'm a big fan of Treasure Map. I stick that in a lot though. And with this mono white, I was attempting to do something a little different. So I definitely picked a couple cards that didn't jump out at me immediately. After I've added all of the ramp cards and I've added all of the draw cards that really jumped out at me, my Angels deck was pretty substantially different. I ended up removing a total of 38 cards out of it. Now, that being said, 7 of them are basic planes because I believe, and I don't recall, I can look, it's like 39. Yeah, it starts with 39 lands. It's a rarity that I will play more than 36 lands, only because I tend to lean really hard into ramp and really hard into card draw, which draws you into the more lands that you needed anyways. And the ramp offsets that by quite a bit. After I have the basic concept of the deck built, you can go under share, you copy the little tag, and then you bring it over to Commander Spellbook. When you go under Commander Spellbook, you paste your deck list in there and you can search it. Now, when you search it, mine originally didn't bring up any combos. So it just brings up combos found. So it was a total of 10 combos found, 43 potential combos if I added an additional color. So then I will read through all of the combos and think, well, I don't want to just life gain Walking Ballista. I don't want to Archangel Avacyn World Slayer. I try to not have in a casual situation 2-card win conditions. If it's 2 cards and it's close to a win condition, or 2 cards that synergize amazingly well or shut stuff off or give you infinite mana doesn't win you the game. But infinite card draw pretty much does. But anyways, I don't want just 2 cards, I destroy the entire table except for mine, or 2 cards, I shoot everybody to death. But 2 cards that give me some magnitude of pretty dramatic advantage, if I could speak English today, 2 cards that give me an advantage, well, that's pretty cool. So what I do is I go through and I find like this balancing act into Teferi's Protection. So I'll click on this and I'll bring it up. Balancing act and Teferi's Protection. So if I have Balancing Act and Teferi's Protection in hand and 7 mana available, step 1 is cast Balancing Act. Holding priority, you cast Teferi's Protection, phasing out all of your permanents. Your life total can't change and you gain protection from everything until end of turn, and you exile Teferi's Protection. And then step 3, each player sacrifices all permanents they control, and each player discards all cards until they have equal to the lowest number. It's essentially balance. But if you phase everything out and then you balance, well, then everybody has to match that 0 because everything's phased out. So the result is opponents sacrifice all permanents they control. Now, it's a 2-card combo. It wins you the game because it destroys everything they have. So I did not want to do this. So that's why this one popped up in the potentials and not in the combos. So the combos that I did add, I was already running the 1 ring. So it said, oh, you were missing Meticulous Evacuation. So I look at this one with Meticulous Evacuation, the 1 ring and Meticulous Evacuation in hand, and a total of 7 mana available each turn. I activate Meticulous Evacuation by paying 2 and a white. I return the 1 ring from the battlefield to my hand, and then I recast the 1 ring. The 1 ring triggers, giving you protection from everything until your next turn. Repeat each turn. So the result of this is protection from all damage that would be dealt to me, and I gain protection from everything. This is exceptionally strong. Does it win the game? No, because I have to recast the 1 ring every turn. They could counter it. They could destroy Meticulous Evacuation. So I would consider this a soft lock. It's very powerful. Will it win me the game with just 2 cards? Absolutely not. So that's why I was comfortable putting this in there. The other one that I put in, funny enough, is extremely similar with the protection from everything theme, and that was Spellbinder with Teferi's protection. So Spellbinder is an equipment. When Spellbinder comes into play, you may remove an instant card from your hand from the game. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may copy the imprinted instant, and you may play the copy without paying its mana cost. So essentially what you do is you imprint Teferi's protection with Spellbinder. So you untap, upkeep, draw. You do whatever you want in main phase 1. In main phase, when you move to combat and you swing, after the combat damage step happens, everything deals its combat damage, and then you T-protect. So you phase out. The result is permanents you control phase out during your opponent's turns. You have protection from everything on opponent's turns, and your life totals can't change during opponent's turns. So is it really strong? Yes. Does it win the game? No. A couple different reasons. They could kill the creature, so I can't attack. They could blow up Spellbinders, so then it no longer triggers anymore, and T-protects exiled from the imprint. There's a bunch of different reasons why this doesn't just win the game. So I add those couple things to the deck list. Then I will break the deck list down from type to categories. And I break it down into more or less what I feel things fall within. So ramp, right now I have a total of 9 cards. Like Smothering Tithe is a great ramp. Pearl Medallion. Land Tax tutors me lands. It's not necessarily ramp, but it does ensure that I don't miss my land drop. And this one, there's a little bit of contention what you consider it as. I personally consider it as ramp just because I'm not missing my land drop. Because when we get later in the game, people miss it, and I won't. Deep Gnome Terramancer is pretty cool ramp. Whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may search your library for a plains and you put it onto the battlefield tap. You can do it only once. Similar to Keeper of the Accord, it balances you within the other player like Land Tax and Keeper of the Accord, but it gives you critters, or it goes and gets you a plains, which is pretty cool. The removal package, there's a really expensive angel that removes 3 things, austere command, so I got a couple board wipes, and then just 3 spot removals. This deck definitely does not have a ton of removal in it. That's probably its weakest facet, but I don't know. I didn't want to run a ton of spot removal. We're all doing mono white, but I did want to make it applicable within other play groups. So I do leave at least some facet of removal. The angels that are within the deck are broken down within here. The majority of them have life gain. Some of them get bigger when you meet life thresholds. Commander bigger. Really cool artwork and cards that came within the pre-con, but whenever you gain life, you put a +1 counter on each creature you control. So this synergizes really, really well with all the additional life gain. At the beginning of your upkeep, this is the Recursion Angel. You got a 25% chance every upkeep to bounce this angel from the graveyard back to your hand or back to the battlefield. I am leaving in Bruna and Gisela, so if you're unaware, I'll pop it up right now. When you have both of these in play, they meld together and they become just a complete beast. So just the general concept. Let me close this and see if I can. I can't flip it. I'll bring it up anyways. It's just an amazingly powerful card. Luminarch's Exarch, or Ascension rather. I guess I could have put this within Kindred. It just makes angels, and it does it if you didn't lose life on your turn. There is a nice little sub-theme of vigilance within the creatures, and protection-wise, most of my creatures are flyers, so I thought it would be funny to run Moat, and Moat keeps you protected from non-flyers, so that in conjunction with having a bunch of vigilance flyers, I'm probably not going to lose life that often, so Luminarch's Ascension is going to trigger more often, and then I just get to make angels. Lyra Dawnbringer, just an amazing card. It's a beautiful foil full art, and felt like it was super in theme with the rest of the foil full art angels that came within the pre-con. This one did not, but I mean, she belongs in there. Similar to the Giada. This Giada was given to me by a friend of mine. Thanks, Bradley. But when he pulled this, he knows I have this deck, and this just felt beautiful as the commander to go with the rest of the foil full art debacles that are going on already in this deck. Resplendent Angel, pretty amazing, and it's got life gain. If you gain 5 life or more, you make an angel, and it's got a neat little pump ability. Righteous Valkyrie is a pretty cool angel. It's got another life gain payoff. This one I just thought was super cool. It's a 1-mana 1/1 flying vigilance. I mean, that's just, and it's an angel, so it felt super on theme, and just a little 1 mana that is going to get bigger because when each other angel you control enters the battlefield, you put +1 counters. So you just make all your angels bigger. Let me see. Each other angel you control enters with an additional +1 counter on it for each angel you already control. So this 1/1, if I have 3 other angels, could essentially be a Sarah angel for 1 mana, and that's pretty broke. This one's just crazy. You can pay white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than paying this monstrous 7-mana spell. So if I wanted to, I could go in here and I could change the custom cost. Like I could change the CMC from 7 to 1, and it would adjust the overall mana curve accordingly. I leave things where they are usually just because it gives me a more realistic worst case scenario. This one at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 4 or more life, you make an angel. So just more angels. We already talked about the removal package. Closers, this is a weird category. It's not necessarily exactly things that win the game, but it's definitely things that can win you the game. Chroma's Will, so amazingly powerful. This has won me a couple games in the past. So although it's not, haha, I win, it's pretty dang good. Similar to Angel of Destiny, there's a couple hurdles to jump through, but if you hit somebody with Angel of Destiny and you've gained 15 more life than your starting life total, that player just loses the game, and that's pretty great. Avacyn, Angel of Hope, making other permanents you control have indestructible, and she herself has flying vigilance and indestructible. It's a pretty dang good card, and it makes it very difficult to interact with. That's why I do run some protection for her specifically, trying to make sure she doesn't get swords or pathed. Herald of Eternal Dawn. This is a newer card. It's also, it's a 7-mana monster, but it's flash, 6/6 flying. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So it's essentially Angel's Grace, the split-second spell, just on an angel, and I thought that was pretty cool. Not an angel. It's a human monk, but it's a 1-mana 1/1 and a lifelink. And if it's your turn 1, it's a 1-mana 6/6 flying lifelink. It's just a beast. And it's in the precon, so I just left it in the precon. The combos, Meticulous Evacuation in conjunction with the One Ring is the one combo we talked about earlier, as well as Spellbinder in conjunction with Teferi's Protection. Without Spellbinder or Meticulous Evacuation, the One Ring and Teferi's Protection were already in the list because they're amazing cards, card draw, and just engines and protection, so they were in there regardless. Additional card draw, I'm looking at Alhammarret's Archive. Synergizes really well with the deck because there's already an exorbitant amount of life gain. So it has, if you would gain life, you gain twice that much instead. And if you would draw a card, except the first one each turn, you draw 2 cards instead. So a lot of those abilities that say they trigger only once each turn, that's fine because I'm going to get 2 cards out of it. Like Archivist of Ogma. No, that's not once each turn, but whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. People run basic fetches and all sorts of stuff. This I did not put any in, but I'm not opposed to getting them just for the deck thinning opportunity. It's only a couple cards, but it's better than nothing, right? But gains you some life, draws you a card. Amazing card. It's not an angel, But when you search the Oracle for draw, it will certainly be in there, and it's mono white, and you're like, that's a good card, so I'm going to run it. You can combine your search parameters. Like if I did the type angel in conjunction with the Oracle tag ramp, it's going to bring up things like Battle Angels of Tyr because it gives you a treasure token. If I combined angels with Oracle tag draw, it's going to bring you our Battle Angels of Tyr because it also draws you a card. But it's just very universally applicable and checks a lot of blocks. Ramp, card draw, and an angel. Sign me up. Court of Grace, beautiful card. Monarch gives you an extra card each turn. And if you are the Monarch, it makes you angels. It was in the pre-con. It's a no-brainer for me. Coveted Jewel is one of them that I do not run a lot, and this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I felt like with the moat and the vigilance creatures, as well as just the some spot removal that I had, that I could be able to protect Coveted Jewel. I figure I'm already trying to protect Court of Grace. I don't want to lose Monarch, so I could try and protect Coveted Jewel. It draws you 3 cards. It taps for 3 mana. It's just a beast of a card, and it's something new for me, so I figured I would give it a go. Esper Sentinel is just a backbreakingly powerful card. Draws you a bunch. It's turn 1, so it's early on, and just felt right. Exemplar of Light. It's a new card. Angel 2 and 2. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1 counter on her, which is already very on theme. It's an angel that has a life gain sub-theme. But whenever you put 1 or more +1 counters on this creature, you draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this would parallel with the Ahemmerit's Archive because, yeah, I'm only going to draw the ones per turn, if I can find it again. But with Ahemmerit's Archive, I'll draw 2. So that's pretty great. Firemain Commando is new to me. I've had this Angels deck for a little while, and running through Scryfall again, I guess when I put this deck together was before Firemain Commando existed, because this is definitely the kind of thing that I like to do. 3 and a white for a 4/3 flying angel. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Favorite thing to do in Magic, but also kind of cute. Whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they get to draw a card if none of those creatures attacked you. So it kind of feeds the opponents if they prioritize the other 2 people over you, which can potentially protect Coveted Jewel. I doubt it because they're going to want to steal Coveted Jewel if need be. And it could protect Court of Grace if possible. But I don't know, just enticing people to go hit someone else is always great in my opinion. Folk Hero, commander creatures you own have when you cast a spell that shares a creature type with this creature, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Commander's an angel. There's a lot of angels in this deck, and it pairs with Ahemmerit's Archive, like I said before. Sensei's Divining Top. Anytime that I find it difficult to find a fair amount of card draw. 13 is a lot, but it's not as much as I like. I'll stick Sensei's Divining Top in there because it does have the card selection opportunity, and I like that. Smuggler's Share, pretty great. At the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Then create a treasure for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. So it's card draw, it's ramp. In my opinion, from my experience, it's card draw more than it's ramp though, because you're only going to get the ramp trigger if they're playing fetch lands. And I mean, people do play fetch lands. I just find that it draws me additional cards more often. Immortal Sun. So this deck does come with with a Planeswalker in it, and there are certainly amazing Planeswalkers that would fall within this confines. There's, it comes with, I'll pop them up. Well, I could just jump over to it instead of just chit-chatting. It comes with a Johnny. People put Elspeth in there. There's Sarah is a Planeswalker, but I figured they weren't really speaking to me to that magnitude. So I figured I'll go with Immortal Sun for a couple different reasons. Players can't activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities, so it shuts off entire archetypes. At the beginning of your draw step, you draw an additional card, so every turn it gives me an extra card. Spells you cast cost one less, so it's ramp across the board generically. And creatures you control are +1/+1. In my experience with this deck, your primary win condition is combat damage. So anytime you can make your creatures hit harder, it closes the game out faster. So Immortal Sun checks every one of those blocks, and it's just fun. Treble in Pairs, one of my favorite cards in mono white. I like the silly shenanigans that took place with the artwork and all that debacle, but if you watched my Commander game with Ryan, where I do a card count total at the end of that game, Trouble in Pairs probably drew me by itself 15 cards that game. It's so strong, and it shuts off extra turn strategies, which I've never actually had it happen, but it's nice that it's peppered in there. Kindred. So these are just things that I felt fell within the specifics of Angels. This the Flowering of the White Tree, legendary creatures you control have +2/+1 and have ward. Non-legendary creatures have +1/+1. I could scoot this over into closers the same way that Immortal Sun makes the creatures bigger. I didn't really have a specific category for this one card, but it's great, and I left it in here because there's a high density of legendaries that are within the Angels category, so I just left it in there. Herald's Horn. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type are one cheaper, so it's ramp from that perspective. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it is a creature card of the chosen type, you reveal it and put it into your hand. So it's card draw. Now, I will say Herald's Horn does not trigger often as a card draw card, but it triggers way more often if you run Sensei's Divining Top. So those two are BFFs, and I tend to draw probably 3 or 4 cards off of Herald's Horn a game if I have Sensei's Divining Top. If I don't, you get 1, maybe 2. But if I'm running top and it's a creature-based deck, Herald's Horn is a win. This was in the pre-con. Angel spells you cast cost 2 less. To me, it's a fragile Urza's Incubator. In fact, let's go ahead and make a substitution mid while we're doing this. So I'm going to move her into the remove category. And I haven't ever played with Nyx Lotus, but I do run a fair amount of enchantments, and there's a pretty color pip intensive, and Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is in the deck. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over into ramp and bring that ramp count up a little bit and get rid of that one little weak Urza's Incubator. So I'm just going to drop her. She's not an angel anyway, so gone. Urza's Incubator, 3 mana, choose a creature type, and when that creature comes into play, then the creatures cost 2 less, which is pretty great. Vanquisher's Banner, as it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, so angels will be +1/+1, and the big part, whenever you cast a creature of the chosen type, you get to draw a card. Just amazing. It's pretty beast. It does a lot of work. It's 5 mana, but it's really good. Arch of Orzhaka? Orzhaka? I don't know how to say it. Anyways, it has Ascend. It has draw a card if you have the City's Blessing. So if I wanted to nitpick, I could go ahead and put this over into card draw and bring that up a little bit. Bonder's Enclave. You can draw a card, activate this ability only if you have a creature with power 4 or greater. There's a ton of creatures that are 4 or greater, not to mention the tokens that I make are 4 or greater. So let's go ahead and put it over there. Cavern of Souls. I'm naming angels. It's definitely a Kindred card, so I'm going to go ahead and put it over there. A Ganjo, Seat of the Empire. It's pretty cool removal, and it costs less if you have a legendary. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw that into removal wherever that one is. Yeah, let me put that goofy land into removal. It did the thing. Emiria, the Sky Ruin enters tapped at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 7 or more planes, you can return a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Amazing recursion. Falls similar to the, what is it? Not Emiria Shepherd, the Ardent Angel. I could put another little category and call it recursion and stick Ardent Angel and Emiria in there. Not really worth it. Karoo lands, I mean, they're okay. I probably should cut this silly thing. I don't think it's great. I probably should just cut this, in all honesty, and replace it with another plains. I think a basic plains is better than a Karoo land. Call me crazy. Minus Thurif, I don't even know. I'm reading the Lord of the Rings books currently, and I don't know all of them. And I know it's crazy. I've never watched the movies, but I will eventually, I promise. Comes into play tapped unless you control a legendary, which there's a lot in. Taps for a white, or tap, draw a card. Activate this ability only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures. So I'm going to throw this in card draw because it's good. Myriad Landscape. Maybe I pull this because it's a slow fetch. And I put in Fabled Passage because it essentially is going to do the same thing. And it doesn't do the slow thing like Myriad Landscape. Not a fan of it anyways. Nycta, Shrine to Nyx. Explained why I put the Nyx Lotus in there. This is also in the precon. Huge amount of value from a precon. But yeah. Path of Ancestry. It's card selection because it is a typal deck. I don't like lands that come into play tapped, but because it's a typal deck, whatever. Shares a creature spell that shares a type with the commander, and there's a lot of angels in there. Bunch of planes and Seraphs, Sanctuary. When it enters, you gain a life. Whenever an angel enters, you gain a life, and it taps for colorless. It's got life gain sub-theme. Some of this stuff, like Archangel of Athun, triggers when you gain a life, so why not? And it came in the precon. 3 Tree City. I have never actually played this card yet. It seems like it should be good having a Ghetto Cradle, and I don't know if it's going to be good, but it might be, so who knows. I'll give it a go, and I'll let you know if I ever actually get to play the thing. War Room draws you a card, so I'm going to put it over there. Now, protection stuff. Clever Concealment. Man, this thing phasing out has saved me so many times. It's just ridiculous because it has Convoke. So in many instances, you're in mono white, you're tapped down, they think your full shield's down, they go to board wipe, and you tap 4 of those creatures that had vigilance anyways, and you save your entire board from a board wipe. Man, just a powerhouse of a card. I understand 4 is a lot, but I think I've only paid 1 at most for that thing at any given moment. Commander's Plate, beautiful artwork, came in the precon. It's got that really cool looking shield. And if we go back to Lyra Dawnbringer, that Commander's Plate artwork has all of Lyra's Dawnbringer stuff. And yeah, it's a flavor win. This Lyra should have been in the precon, but it was not. Whatever. It's in mine. Flawless Maneuver, amazing card. It's another one that feigns that shield down because you're tapped out and it costs 0. If you watch last week's game, you'll see that this actually did some work for me, and it got me very close to winning the game. I did not win, but definitely was an oops button for the opponents. Greaves and Boots. When you're investing quite a bit into these angels, you want to protect them. These are powerhouses when you drop one on Avacyn, because her having indestructible, there's exile spells make it possible to remove her, but giving her Shroud or Hexproof are pretty great. And Moat's just adorable, and I understand it's remarkably expensive. In my play group, they don't really frown on you making a proxy. I don't personally use proxies, but I also happen to have been playing for a very long time and am fortunate enough to have some of these cards that I've had for quite a while. Moat, most of my creatures are flyers. It protects my stuff, keeps my coveted jewel safe, keeps my Court of Grace safe, And it's just amazing. The Maybe board, this balancing act, when I brought up the find my combos, I talked about exactly why I don't run balancing act. If your play group doesn't mind a little bit stronger, balancing act would be great. And something else that would be pretty great if your play group doesn't mind a little bit stronger. Where are the combos again? Running something like World Slayer is super flavorful for Avacyn. Running Mystic Forge with the Immortal Sun, because I already have Sensei's Divining Top, lets you draw your entire deck, so it draws you into the answers. This isn't necessarily, I think this is safe to run even in my play group, and it's not a 2-card I win button, where like Nevinyrral's Disc, I think, would fall very same vibe as Balancing Act, where it's a 2-card thing and it more or less wins you the game because it removes the opponent's board. Balancing Act does it a little meaner though. In the removal category, I took out a total of 41 cards from the pre-con. This is a pretty extensive modification to it. So if I go over to card types, 18 artifacts, 25 creatures, 10 enchantments. These enchantments and the pip intensive creatures is why I've mentioned that I was comfortable running Nykthos and Nyx Lotus. Instants, only 7. Sorceries, only 3. 36 lands. Going down to the bottom. The breakdown, of course, it's 100% and 100% because it's a mono white. We can look at the curve. 11, 11, 12, 14, and then it kind of tapers off all the way to Big Mama Avacyn. The last thing that I normally do when I finish building a deck and before I pop it up is I go into share, and there's this really silly generate a poem, and I will put it in the breakdown. So in the bottom, I'll put the combos, what combos are within the decks, and I copy paste the poem that it gave me, and I think it's just something neat. It's cute, and I'll pop it up on the screen. You can pause it if you want to read it, but I like that kind of silliness, and to me, it gives a little bit of flavor and a little bit of fun. Overall, even though this was like in my head was only going to be like 10 minutes, and it ends up being a 30-minute video because it transitioned from how does Rob build a deck to, all right, this is how Rob builds a deck and a deck tech on his mono white angels. And a couple cutesy somethings. And I don't know if you're looking, but we all know Flibblethip's in the background of the video, so good luck finding him because my face is small in this one. So overall, that's the system that I use based upon Precon or Average Deck, Scryfall, and Commander Spellbook. Obviously, a big part of how I brew also includes my friends. We will share our deck lists with one another and kind of bounce ideas, because every now and then something that's painfully obvious to someone else, or sometimes painfully obvious to you, skips when you're brewing or when they're brewing. And that's why Commander as a community thing is what's the most amazing part about it. I am curious, other than EDH Rec or Scryfall or Commander Spellbook, what methods you out there in the wide world of web use? Do you guys just kind of freestyle it off of whatever you happen to have, and what you got, what you don't, if something jumps out at you, or do you base it off of just recommendations during gameplay? I'm curious, if you don't mind popping it down in the comments below, what you do to brew your decks or modify or update or pimp out your Commander deck. I know I have a couple friends that they just get precons, they watch and do whatever the command zone says to do, or whatever their favorite YouTuber. They just say, oh, so-and-so said to run this, so that's what I did. And of course, the final step, and oh goodness, I forgot to mention, when you finish doing all that, you have this list of cards that you have in your Kung Fu grip from the precon, and then some that you don't. So I jump onto my LGS and I order anything that's missing from there, and anything they don't have. Usually I just go to TCG Player and just add it all to cart and order TCG Direct because it'll come as one package and it's going to be properly graded, or it's legit, because you can get counterfeit cards through other methods. Another really good store is Card Kingdom. They're just on the other side of the state from me, so I do order from them on occasion. But it's just whatever you season to taste, right? Overall, I hope you've enjoyed learning the little bit about how I personally brew and the system that I go through. And like I said, I'm really interested how you brew personally. If you could pop it in the comments, like I mentioned. And I'm Rob. This is Bion MTG. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below.